My sheep hear my voice, and the stranger they will not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
Let's sing hallelujah. Let's sing hallelujah. Let's sing hallelujah. Let's sing hallelujah.
Hi, boys and girls. It's always good to see you again. Today we will learn about the potter and the clay. Most of you know what clay is. Well, did you know that the person that molds the clay is called a potter? Let's go back to the Bible days and find some pottery. These pieces are over 2,000 years old. Look at this one. This is about 2,000 years old from Jerusalem. That's a long time ago, boys and girls. Have you ever wondered where clay comes from? If you have seen my video called Salt of the Earth, that'll give you a clue. Let's check out this video to see where clay comes from.
I've been digging clay with Exaptive Studio and wanted to teach you how to do it yourself. First, you must find and choose a site to dig your clay. Most often, I find my clay next to rivers or in ditches. These places are most accessible to find clay because the water flow in rivers and ditches will wash away all the topsoil, but leave all the dense, compact clay. Clay is more dense than any other soil type. If exposed, it will often make a flat surface, and you will not be able to penetrate it with your finger.
You see here that clay comes from the ground.
Now that we know where and how to find clay deposits, we can go out and dig some clay. The location I chose today is right next to a river, the Messalonsky in Waterville. Next to rivers, I'm looking for a flat spot, an area of hard exposed clay. If you go too far away from the river, you reach topsoil.
This man is using a shovel, but sometimes a machine can be helpful.
When I'm digging, I like to take a shovel full of clay and use my hands to inspect any large rocks. That's a pretty clean looking piece of clay. Remember to test a piece of clay to make sure it's good by taking a piece and rolling it into a ball in your hand, then rolling it into a snake, then back to a ball. If it can do this, it is malleable enough to work with down the road. Take as much as you want, remembering to leave the land looking as if you never came there. I believe it is important to thank the land and earth around you for the clay you took. Just take a moment to look at and appreciate all that you give and take from the earth. Practice remembrance. After you have dug your clay, put it into a bucket and fill it with water. Break the large pieces up into smaller pieces and let it sit in the water for a few hours to absorb. Then, take the bucket of clay and water and use your hands to break it apart into a slip, a thick liquid clay. A tip in this process is that the more water you add, the easier it is to mix, but the longer it takes to dry. A thick, cream consistency is good. Once you've got it mixed, put the slip through a window screen.
Here we see that clay is getting cleaned to get rid of the rocks and things that get in the way.
Transfer the slip from one bucket to the other, passing through the screen. After 2 or 3 passes, enough pebbles and sticks should have been screened that the clay will be good. Put the clay into a bin or container lined with a cut-up t-shirt or old towel. This wicks away some of the water in the clay. Let it dry for a few days in a well-aired place. Transfer to a plasterboard if you have one. If not, continue to let it dry until most of it is in a clay-like consistency.
Clay can be used for many different things. We saw some pottery pictures that go back to the biblical days. Before pottery is made, first the clay has to go through a process. The process is called kneading, which puts pressure on the clay. Let's see what kneading is.
Hello everybody, I'm Simon Leach. I'm here in Spain, and we're going to just touch upon kneading clay. Now, I put my left foot forward, okay, like that, and I use it. Okay, put your hands on the clay like this, grip the clay, and then just develop this sort of rocking motion like this, putting your weight onto your front left foot. Now apply pressure down into the clay like this with relatively straight arms, so the thrust is coming down from your shoulders. This is not something we're doing like this, you know, with our wrists. Alright? This is a definite thrust down from the shoulders. Weight coming down, transferring the weight over to the front left foot, directly applying. Okay. Okay, now as I do this about approximately 100 times, and after I've done it 100 times, I wind it up, as you'll see me doing now, into a cone. Like this.
Look how hard he's hitting the clay. This is the kneading process.
Okay, now that is ready for balling up or doing whatever we like. Okay, keep practicing.
You can see that was a rough process. I want you to see one more video to see the rough process again.
Här har jag nu ungefär 3-4 kilo lera. Och
Look at how she slaps the clay and slams it on the table.
om man använder sig av en tråd
Here you see her cutting the clay and slamming it back together.
och slår den i. Vrider leran ett kvartsvarv. Drar med händerna. Så ser jag de ränderna där. Tar tag här i botten. Drar snett uppåt. Den delen i den delen. Vrider runt. Och slår den i. Det är ett sätt. Om man har lite mindre mängd lera så kan man ju ta klumpen, skära den upp klumpen och sen så bearbeta den med vädursmetoden. Då håller man händerna på sidan så och trycker leran framåt. Håller i och trycker, håller i och trycker.
Here is the kneading process again.
Och som ni ser när jag vrider runt den nu så ser den ut som en vädur. Man ska alltså hålla händerna på sidan. Bara pressa ner leran. Pressa ner leran. Pressa ner leran.
As you can see, this was not a gentle process. The clay went to beating, cutting, and kneading. Now that we have seen the process that prepares the clay, let's see the molding process to shape the clay into pottery. Notice how the potter never leaves the clay.
Well, I thought I'm just going to make a bit of a fruit bowl, pasta bowl, salad bowl, serving bowl, whatever you like, really. So, it's about £3 clay. I'm going to make this on a bit of a sort of a foot, you know, like an upright foot. So. Centre it quite upwards because it's quite a size, going to have a bit of a foot on it. So I don't want to go anywhere near to the bottom, I want to leave a good thickness of clay so I can make the foot. So to form a bit of a foot, I'm just going to sort of squeeze in at the base like so. Out and upwards. This base is round yourself. basic bowl shape. Again, I'm just pushing at the base to narrow the foot a bit. Tidy up all the mess at the bottom when I've finished. And it's just as easy as basically from the inside out. Just stretching it out to form the bowl. Like so. Just rolling the top over it. Just a touch. That's it really. Quite easy, just make a tube, make a sort of triangular shape, pull it out upwards and outwards, and then just sort of splay it out from the inside really. Quite a quick way of making a ball on a foot. So tomorrow, when it's drier, I'll just turn the foot, trim the foot to a nicer shape. Basically that's about it for now. Simple sort of fruit bowl, salad bowl.
Wasn't that amazing to change the round piece of clay into a bowl? In this next video, as you're watching, listen closely to what the lady says.
We're a lot like this lump of clay. Shapeless, formless, hard to use for anything. Until the potter touches it. The potter kneads and rolls and softens the clay, turning it from something hard and tough into something flexible. The potter prepares the clay to be made into something new. And slowly and surely, the clay begins to change. It submits to the potter's hands. It requires some pressure and time and patience and a plan. And the potter has all of those. The clay doesn't talk back or offer criticism. The clay simply yields to the hands of the maker. And by doing that, it becomes something beautiful. The clay is formed with purpose. It's moved, shaped, molded. And then, for a time, it sits and waits until the time is right. Until it's sturdy and strong enough to do the job it was made to do. And just like an artist and their clay, the Bible says we are the clay. God is the potter. We are the work of His hand. God has a plan for us, and it's good. We aren't lumps of clay. We get to be something beautiful, made and loved by God.
Did you understand the lesson in that video? Just in case you missed it, see if you can catch it in this video. Listen closely.
Sammy loved to make things from clay or Play-Doh. It was very soft and it felt so good. He made animals, buildings, cars, people, and cups. The clay in Sammy's hands became whatever Sammy wanted. A man in the Bible enjoyed working with clay too. Perhaps it happened like this. Lifting the corner of a wet cloth, the skilled artist cut a slab of clay from the large lump. He slapped it down on the potter's wheel and sat down. He pulled his robe up to his knees. Then slowly, he began to turn his wheel and form the clay. Underneath the potter's hands, the clay seemed to take on a life of its own. Once flat, it now had a hollow center and smooth, pale sides. The potter dipped his hands quickly in a basin of water and returned to his work. Almost lovingly, his hands put pressure, and the shape responded instantly. Rounded sides began to narrow to form a long neck. A lip was formed in the front. Then the potter's wheel slowed and came to a stop. The potter braided some smooth pieces of clay together. He fastened them firmly onto one side of the pot to make a handle. With a happy smile, he slid his creation off the wheel, setting it carefully on the drying shelf. What was once a slab of clay had become a beautiful clay pitcher. The potter looked out at the busy street. Customers stood nearby watching him work. Some bought clay pots for water or for flour, but the potter kept working. His fresh batch of clay wouldn't last long. He cut another slab from the batch. As he had done before, he slapped it onto his potter's wheel. Round and up and down. As the sides of a water pot rose from his hands, his attention was drawn to a man watching him. The potter looked up and smiled. But in that instant, the sides of the pot fell into the center, and the spinning wheel came to a stop. "Oh, I'm so sorry," the man said as his hand flew to his mouth. The potter waved his hand in the air. "Think nothing of it," he said. "I'll fix it in no time." The man introduced himself. "My name is Jeremiah. I was sent here by God to watch you work." The potter seemed interested. "The beauty of clay," he said, "is that if it is too thin in one spot, or if I find mistakes as I go along, I just pinch out the problem or pat down the lump and start over. Sometimes that makes it even stronger than before. I always try to make the clay into what it seems best for." "So mistakes can be fixed?" Jeremiah suggested. "That's right. I can shape and reshape the clay until it's just what it should be. And when I'm happy with it, others will find it beautiful and useful too." Jeremiah nodded. "Your work is beautiful," he said. He stood and watched the potter a little longer. Then he admired the objects on display once more. There were small oil lamps for a bedroom, pitchers of all sizes for cream, milk, or water, huge pots for storing olives or grain, or for cooling water. Everything was made from the same material by the same creator. Yet each was a little different. Each one had a special purpose. This was the lesson God wanted Jeremiah to learn. That is why he sent Jeremiah to watch the potter at work. Now Jeremiah could explain how God shapes each person's life, how he corrects the mistakes that happen and uses them to form something beautiful. In God's hands, every life can be of service to others.
We little sheep are clay to the chief shepherd, and he is the potter. Yah made man from the dust of the earth, just as the clay came from the earth. Now, as his little sheep, known as the clay in this lesson, we have to be kneaded and processed before the potter, the chief shepherd, can mold us and shape us into what he wants us to be. This whole process usually doesn't feel good, but it's for our good. We may go through some hard times in life, which will prepare us to be used by Yah the potter for what he will have us to be. Hope you learned something from this lesson. I'll put a couple of videos in the description box down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Alright, boys and girls, Remember to do what? Obey your parents. Bye!
Oh, that my people would listen to me. Oh, that Israel would follow me. And Yah will be king over all the earth. On that day there will be one Yah. His name alone will be worshipped. I am Yah. That is my name. I will not give my glory to anyone else. If you love me, you will keep my commandments.